Hey everyone, for those of you who don't know, my name is Mickey. I am a Project M player from Southern California and have been playing Smash since 2012. I didn't actually get into Project M until December 2013 when 3.0 released. That night changed my life because it brought me into a community I didn't think existed. Something in my life that brought so much positivity, gave me all my friends I know today. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. That night at release, it was just hours and hours of just discovering everything about the beauty that is Project M. Every single character, trying to find out who I liked playing. Of course, I tried playing Falco, my melee main. Tried playing Roy because I loved him. Played Meta Knight a little. Played DDD. Played Zirsu. I just dabbled in so many different characters. It was honestly such a blast just going through the entire roster. And I pretty much grew up in the family that was SoCal Project M, with the likes of David Lee, Dojo, is who I'm referring to, uh, Machiavelli, Sosa, Jason Waterfalls, Venom. There's so many amazing people that I got to know because of this stupid mod of a game. And it was going so well. Fast forward to 2015 when Paragon LA was being hosted right in my backyard, just like a 30-minute drive. Had never been to a national before for Project M. And I go to my group of buddies and say, this is it. This is our chance to shine. Like, we've been playing this game for 2 years now. Like, we can make a splash. Let's go show them who BroCal is. And we get there, and we see this amazing venue full of just smashers from all over the world. I remember that so many PMDT members were there as well. I know they got a group photo with I think it was around 70 members. I can't tell you exactly how many, but I knew the majority of the PMDT was there. There was a slight problem though, and this would be the beginning of the dark times that were to come for PM. Just hours before, the Paragon TOs were told that Project M could not be streamed on Twitch. And the TOs were flabbergasted, wait, what? They were just blindsided by this news. And we had to scramble. And they ended up coming with a solution. They found this different streaming service, Hitbox, to host us. And while we were able to stream there, the numbers paled to what we were used to, or pale and what we knew what we can get, just because it was very difficult for people to find this stream that we put together last second. Just because it wasn't on the platform that everybody knew. It wasn't on Twitch. And that was only the beginning. Fast forward to later that year, around December, it's the beginning of December, the PMDT released a letter to the community saying Project M has ceased development. There will no longer be any future patches. And this took the PM community by storm. Nobody knew how to cope with this information. This game that brought so many different Smash games. It brought Melee, Brawl, Smash 4 players all together under one banner. It had elements of each one of these games that we all loved. And that's why PM got so big. And now the PMDT just announced that they can no longer work on it. It's over. I knew I took this pretty harshly. Like I think I cried for like 2 days, just trying to figure out where to go from here, what to do. Well, the answer was simple. We just keep playing the game. We keep playing with the last thing that BMDT left us, which was Project M 3.6. And God, did we do a hell of a good job doing that. We hosted so many nationals. We broke records. We beat Paragon, which was the previous record for most PM entrants in a tournament in Bigger Belk. We had so many amazing tournaments, so many players that formed their own identities to try to separate the stigma that PM players are like worse than the other games. Like we suck at our games. We're not good. But they made an identity for themselves. They were able to show individualism, show how unique the game is, show how amazing it can be to watch. And I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. There was so many amazing moments to Thunder's Reigns for stalking Junebug Scan in that final boss, to Venom versus Zahime at Supernova, Game 5, last hit, last stock, to Hyperflame versus Jose V at Evo. Just so many amazing events. So many amazing sets of Project M were played. And I loved every minute of it. It got to the point where the other communities were starting to notice us. Like, I remember seeing tweets from Ultimate players saying like, "Whoa, this game's actually pretty dope," and melee players were like still trying to enter events, like Lucky, Nun, Hungry Bucks, Mewtwo King, Plup. They'd enter events every now and then. It wasn't their main focus, but they still enjoyed the game. They still wanted to be a part of our community in as much as a way as they could, while not deterring themselves from their main games. It was amazing to see their support. And then COVID hit, which was put a halt to all of the work that every Smash community was putting into, because it seemed Smash was getting bigger than ever. Melee was popping off. PM was popping off for us. Ultimate was popping off after getting I think a year and a half, 2 years running. And they're about to have another great year. And then COVID just put a stop to all of it. Shortly after COVID hit, Project Plus was released, which was insane because nobody expected another version of PM to be released. It released so many graphical updates, added animations, added Knuckles, for crying out loud. There was just so much new content in Project M that we just couldn't wait to get our hands on. And once it released, all hands were on deck. So many people were playing the game. Even Melee players were getting into this game as well. We saw Mango, Lucky, Toph, IBDW, Mewtwo King. All these guys were playing Project Plus on Twitch. It was releasing the stigma that, wait, we can actually stream PM on Twitch. Because for the longest time, people thought PM was banned. No, it never was. People were incentivized to not stream it, but it was never officially banned. They got taken off the game list. But you could still stream there under Brawl. Nobody ever had any punishment from it. And with seeing all that support, it felt so nice. It felt like we were being included again. Included with the greater Smash scene. Because that's pretty much all PM wanted. We just want recognition from the other Smash scenes. We just want to be part of the fun. Want to be a part of the greatness that their games were making. We want to make our own greatness with them. We want to celebrate our players, have them side by side with the other games' players. And seeing the Smash players from the different games playing the game, it felt real special. It felt nice. P Plus probably couldn't have come at a better time than the beginning of the pandemic. Because it definitely brought in a lot of new eyes and took away a lot of stigmas that were involved with the legality of PM on Twitch. And that it was okay to Twitch. It was a big stepping stone for us to get past it. And then summer of 2020 hit when tournaments were trying to happen online. Because this is also when Slippy released with rollback netcode, which was an incredible thing for Melee to have rollback netcode. Melee is super lucky to have someone like Fizzy just release this for free to the public. I even got my hands back into Melee for a bit just because it's so easily accessible. Literally anybody can just go download Slippy and start playing with anybody. Like in the US, even like Europe has their own whatever. You get the point. You can pretty much play with anybody with a pretty much good connection. So, with the establishment of Slippy, tournaments started running online tournaments now because we couldn't do it on LAN because of the pandemic. It came to the point where the Big House tried to make sure the Big House still happened by hosting an online version of the Big House. Using Slippy, of course, since that was what everybody was using. And here's where things went south again. I forget what day it was, because I didn't double check any of this data. I'm just doing all this off the top of my head. The Big House announced that they could no longer hold this tournament because they were given a cease and desist from Nintendo to shut the tournament down. A tournament that was and maybe still is a partner with Nintendo, because they've definitely had an agreement with Nintendo, like to pretty much just be partnered with them, like it's like put ads, Nintendo ads in their events. I don't know what was compensated for them, but they had some kind of agreement. So they can try to get as much from Nintendo as possible. But when they try to host something with Slippy, Nintendo said no. They completely shut it down. And it caused this big movement. Save Smash, free Melee, fuck Nintendo. We saw so much of this happen, like, appear on Twitter. People were livid. We're in the midst of a pandemic, and Nintendo has the gall to just say no. Just because they're stubborn. They don't want anyone modding their games. They don't want anyone touching their IPs. They want none of it. And so they shut down Big House. They just completely shut it down. And around this time, the PM community, oh, you guys are getting a taste of what we've been going through for the past 6 years. Well, 5 years, since it was last year. The past 5 years, you finally got the taste of what we've been going through. And a lot of the Melee community realized this. They were like, wow, this is what PM went through on that day in 2015. They were shunned by Nintendo. Nintendo's shunning us completely. And there were so many horror stories with how Nintendo has prevented sponsors from investing into Smash. How Nintendo stopped several tournaments from happening. How Nintendo did a lot of dirty work to make sure that PM was stopped and was pushed out of the limelight. Nintendo put in a lot of effort to make sure these Smash games stayed down. They were reminded that Nintendo initially stopped Evo from hosting Melee in 2013. If it wasn't for the massive backlash, Melee may not have appeared there. If the community didn't fight back, Melee may have never gotten its resurgence. Who knows? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So, yeah, they completely shut out PM. And now they're doing the same with Melee. They don't want Slippy being a thing. So people were scared because Summit was hosting their event like pretty shortly after their online event that was going to be using Slippy. They were worried. What was going to happen with this event? Are they going to get shut down too for Nintendo? Well, turns out, a few weeks later, Summit ran fine. Summit had no issues with running. So that made people think, well, is Nintendo only going after events that are partnered with Nintendo? Because the Big House was a Nintendo partner. BTS wasn't. They never made an agreement with Nintendo. So they had no obligations to do as they say. So that got people thinking. Well, it got TOs thinking. They wanted to do something to celebrate the greatness that is Melee, and that brought the community together, and to bring back one unit. And that's when 5 Days of Melee appeared. And what may have shocked a lot of people is that Project M was actually featured in this. We had PM show matches. We had... What else did we have? Because I remember there was Fuzz versus Magi. There was Aklo versus Stango. There's one more that I can't remember. We showcased a lot of PM unique, sorry, P plus unique content. Like, we showed how Subspace Emissary were still a thing. We showed how boss rushes were still a thing. And we went over different game modes that were available in Project Plus. And as far as I know, the PM blocks had the highest viewership of all of the Melee of all the content of 5 Days of Melee. PM spiked the hardest. PM was finally getting love from the rest of the community. It felt amazing. It felt after 5 years of being on our own, having to host our own tournaments, always getting neglected from Melee and Smash 4 and Ultimate TOs, not wanting to deal with this because they thought there's a glimmer of hope that they could partner with Nintendo. Or they just didn't even like the game. I've definitely seen both happen. But after all this neglect, we were being brought back. People are liking us again. People wanted us to be around. It felt real nice. So here comes 2021, where pandemic was starting to ease up and Riptide was announced, saying being the first major back in person since the pandemic. And at this point it would have been a year and a half, scheduled for September 9th through 11th. Or 9th through 12th. Forget the exact dates. And let me tell you, I have never seen an event sell out quicker than that. God, Smashers were dying to play in-person Smash. And I was lucky. Like, I almost never register for events, like, the moment the event's posted. I almost never do. But this time, like, I was feeling it too. I was definitely feeling it. I was like, I need to go to this tournament. I need to go to the first Smash Major back. Because I've been grinding a lot. Like, I've been grinding in PM. Like, I wanted to show people what I can do. So I signed up immediately. And thank God I did, because that sold out immediately. People who weren't even aware the event was announced, they didn't get a chance. They didn't get a chance to sign up. Like, all this hype was being built for this event. And PM was going to be side by side with Melee and Ultimate. We are going to share the stage with them. Shortly after, Low Tier City announces their version of Riptide, called Low Tide City, going to be hosted in Austin. Another big event that was going to host PM with Melee and Ultimate. And then even a few more weeks down the line, Main Stage, the tournament ran by Beyond the Summit, is now hosting PM, which this one was the biggest one, because this came from a Melee-centric one, because Riptide and LTC, they already had a history of hosting PM and like supporting us. But Main Stage was different. They had no history with PM besides the 5 Days of Melee segment that they provided us. That was all the connection they had to PM. And they're going to host PM for us in SoCal. Like, the future looks super bright. It looked amazing. Like, it almost couldn't be a better time to be a PM player than it was at the beginning of 2021 when all these events were announced. It was so exciting. Finally being let back into the cool kids table, I don't know how else to put it, with the rest of the Smash games. But all good things must come to an end. And for another time, and it probably won't be the last, Nintendo steps in and completely boots P Plus from the event. And this one hurt especially because this is the most action Nintendo has taken to put PM down. Because before, with the PMDT shutdown, there's a lot of mystery behind it, like why it shut down. And still to this day, people speculate what actually happened. Even though, like, they never officially got a cease and desist. But there were rumors that Nintendo was going to take action, and they just didn't want to risk it, so they ended up stopping. Paragon was that stops Twitch from letting us stream. And soon followed a lot of Melee and Smash 4 people also stopped streaming PM on Twitch. There's more Nintendo pressuring Twitch to do so, but they didn't take direct action. They're just threatening what they could do. Even with the big house. Now, at that point, that was the biggest Nintendo has intruded. They did the first cease and desist that Nintendo has issued against the Smash community, as far as I know. But now, this is the worst it's gotten for PM. For the first time, Nintendo has entered our safe space. Riptide was always a place that PM could call home. It was the one of two majors that hosted all the Smash games. It was Riptide and it was LTC. Those were the two big ones. And now Nintendo it's not safe anymore. Nintendo stopped it. They entered our safe space and just took it away. It's almost like there's nowhere else for us to go. We're finally making leeway into getting welcome back to the community. With many Melee TOs like wanting to run our events. And now this. 2 weeks before Riptide happens, this devastating announcement comes. Nearly 400 PM players will go on to fly to this event. And now they got nothing to show for it. The worst part is there is zero chance that Nintendo just found out about this. Absolutely not. No chance. They did it at a time where people couldn't pull back from the event without some loss. All those plane flights, all those hotels booked. Can't cancel without some losses. We already made plans. We already took time off work to schedule for this weekend. And we can't just take it back now. It's like Nintendo is definitely trying to break us. And it sucks. We were so close to getting back. Getting back to how it was during the 3.0 days. Everybody played the game because it was fun. We all enjoyed it. And then we had to be alone. We had to be alone for 6 years. We were finally going to break it, now because of this. This stupid cancellation. Nintendo just destroying it all. And because of it, other TOs are going to be afraid of hosting PM events, because who knows when Nintendo could just pull the plug. So now Melee events don't want to host us anymore. Ultimate events don't want to host us. We're back to being alone. And it sucks. It was just so nice seeing all these Melee and alt players showing interest in our game again. And now we don't get to really do it in person anymore. I'm not a TO, I'm just a player, so I don't know what's going behind the scenes with LTC or main stage. I don't know what they're thinking. It's looking grim. I know some of the TOs. I know they're working hard to make something work. But God, I can't imagine how future events want to host anything with us involved. It's just it's too detrimental to have us there. It sucks. We gotta go back to doing our own thing. So if I can ask you all one thing, for you Melee players, for you Ultimate players, for any other community out there looking from the outside in, just please don't ignore us again. Please help us celebrate what a great game PM is. Even if you don't want to play it, even if you don't like it, please just retweet some PM content if it comes across your timeline. Just show some love for another community that just loves their game and just wants to see people enjoy it. Like, there's nothing in this for us other just enjoyment from playing it. We all fall in love with a game where the creator hates us. And I'm not even just talking about the PM community. Nintendo doesn't like the Melee community. Nintendo barely likes the Ultimate community. They just want their games to be family-friendly games. They hate the competitive scene. No matter what they may say publicly, they hate us. They want nothing to do with us. So remember that when you see PM players, or the PM community, getting kicked to the side by them most, Just don't let us go through it alone again. That's all I ask.